If you're alone, this story may shake your heart deeply. Turn off the lights. Take a deep breath, because terror is about to knock at your door.
The nights in the house grew unbearable. The darkness did not simply linger in the corners. It spread, crawling along the walls, pooling in doorways, creeping under beds, and gathering in the hallways. Every footstep, every breath was felt as if the house were aware of it. George and Kathy could not sleep. Even in daylight, the shadows lingered, refusing to retreat. The children woke screaming, pointing at shadows that moved independently, twisting and contorting into shapes that should not exist. One evening, as the family gathered in the living room, a low guttural growl reverberated through the walls. It was not a sound from the house's pipes, nor a draft through the floorboards. It came from the very structure itself. If the house was alive and aware of their presence, objects trembled on tables, knives slid across the counters, and jumped from drawers. The grandfather clock struck 13, though there was no mechanism to make it do so. The temperature dropped drastically. Frost formed on the windows despite the warm autumn night. Dawn, the eldest child, whispered with terror, "It's watching us. It wants us gone." Suddenly, the lights flickered violently and went out. In the suffocating darkness, a figure emerged, tall, impossibly black, with glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness. It moved slowly, deliberately, radiating pure hatred. George tried to speak, to call it by name, but no words came out. The figure's presence was crushing. An invisible force slammed him against the wall, leaving him gasping for air, trembling uncontrollably. Kathy was dragged across the floor by unseen hands. Her screams echoed through the empty rooms, mingling with guttural, almost inhuman growls. Matt and Missy clung to each other, their bodies twisting unnaturally as invisible fingers pinched, pulled, and prodded them. Shadows danced and swirled across the walls, forming grotesque parodies of their worst fears. The house was not merely haunted, it was hungry. It fed on fear, on panic, on despair. Every heartbeat, every shiver, every scream fueled its power. It whispered constantly, in voices both familiar and alien, repeating the same threats in languages the family could not understand. Leave or be taken forever. Paranormal investigators arrived to document the terror. Even they were shaken. One man described feeling a weight pinning him to the floor as a whisper hissed directly into his ear, "You do not belong here." Another witnessed chairs levitating, knives spinning in midair, and a shadowy figure dragging across the ceiling. The children sometimes spoke in voices that were not their own, repeating chilling messages in unison. "It will not let us go. It will have you too." Even the neighborhood felt the house's malign influence. Lights in nearby homes flickered inexplicably. Dogs howled into empty streets. Local residents reported seeing fleeting figures, dark, humanoid shapes lurking just beyond sight, then vanishing when approached. A cold wind would rush through the streets, carrying whispers that made the bravest hearts falter. By the third week, the Lutz family's mental and physical state deteriorated. George awoke to find scratches on his arms and chest, deep and angry. Though no one had touched him, Kathy saw her reflection in the mirror's twist, her own eyes hollow and filled with anguish. The children often became catatonic, repeating the same words over and over. Leave before it takes you forever. One night, in a desperate attempt to confront the evil, the family gathered in the living room. The air thickened unnaturally. Frost formed on the floors and walls. Shadows thickened, twisting into monstrous shapes. A deafening roar shook the house, as though the building itself had grown teeth and claws. George reached out toward one of the dark forms, only to feel nothing and icy emptiness that penetrated his very soul. Kathy was lifted from her feet, screaming as unseen forces held her aloft. The twins were suspended midair, their limbs bent at impossible angles, their cries mingling with the guttural laughter of invisible creatures. The darkness demanded something beyond comprehension. It hungered for their fear, for their souls, for the very essence of their being. Every attempt to resist was met with greater force. The whispers promised eternal torment if they stayed, painting visions of death, of unspeakable horrors waiting in the shadows. Finally, after 3 torturous weeks, the Lutz family fled, leaving their possessions behind. The house remained silent, but its presence lingered in their memories, in their dreams, and in the lingering sense that the darkness was still watching, waiting. Even today, 112 Ocean Avenue radiates an unseen malevolence. Those who venture near report chills that make the hair on their necks stand on end, whispers calling their names, shadows that twist unnaturally, and a sense that some invisible intelligence is calculating, watching, always patient. The most terrifying truth: the house does not forget. The evil within waits, hungers, and remembers, and 112 Ocean Avenue waits for the next family.
What waits behind the door, you'll discover in the next video.